Okay, this is part 2. I said I'd make another video if I forgot anything, and it appears that I did. I forgot to talk about smoking and enemas and a couple other things to consume. First off, with the smoking thing, we can obviously look into many cultures that used it as a religious thing, and when it comes in its perfect form as a plant, unsprayed and unchemically additives and grown right and respected, it can be used ceremonial, and that's a great way to use it as a tool. I wouldn't suggest right off the bat to use it, but it is something certainly to look into, and look into the history of it and the use of it in shamanism. Um, so yeah, there's nothing wrong with smoking, and there's certainly a lot of healthy benefits to it as well. You have nicotine receptor sites in your brain, and there's obviously the medicinal uses of hemp and marijuana, but there's also the pitfall to that again, which becomes an addiction, which becomes you better know the source, and you should be very concerned about who's giving you, where you're getting it from. It's always very important. Uh, the other thing was consuming sprouts. The number one food for increasing your energy. A couple people put out videos on PK and telekinesis and such, and they had commented how much it increased that power for them. And because they're living foods and the energetic power coming off of them as they sprout forth into, they're coming right through creation, the energy and power in that is immense. So it's a very good idea to introduce sprouts into your diet. And they're cheap to make, very cheap to make, but expensive if you buy them from the store. They're simple to do. You can buy a couple trays, you can do them in a jar, throw some sprouts in there and some water, and poof, there you go. And the other one was enemas and keeping your bowels clean. One of the number one things for this diet is to remove the obstacles for you to ingest. So by cleaning your bowels, the food that you'll ingest afterwards, the juice, it will be doing its job better. It will actually be getting into your bloodstream the right way. You'll be getting the most nutrition from it. You'll be getting the energy from it rather than it just passing through you, because your intestines are clogged up and the walls are not allowing information to be passed into your system. You're literally just crapping it out. So by doing enemas, whether they're water or upgrade is always the urine. I always suggest using urine. That's a definite upgrade. And do not use coffee enemas until you've cleaned your colon first, because coffee enemas are not for your colon. They're to release and trigger your bile in your gallbladder and your liver to basically release itself. And if you have a clogged up colon, you're going to only be doing more harm than good. It's not going to be helpful. And there are other liver cleanses, and again, it's the same philosophy as to get the colon cleansed first, and then you can do the liver gallbladder cleanse, which is large amounts of oil and a lemon. It's either lemon or lime. Or grapefruit is another way to do it. You do like a cup of. You can look that up. You can look up the recipe. I think it's a cup of juice, of lemon or grapefruit juice, to a half cup of oil. And sesame oil is probably the best for it. And you'd consume that before bed, and then you'd lie down. I believe it's your left side, and it will help to release built up bile salts and stones that are clogging you up. And I've heard of a lot of great response to that, and people getting rid of allergies, getting rid of all sorts of illnesses and dis-ease in the body. So it's a great idea. And as well, you can look into bastis, and this is taking oil in through an enema. And you can do this with just warm oil. Sesame oil, once again, is one of the best to use. And you can also do it medicinally, meaning you can add a plant substance such as Tripalia or possibly turmeric. These are two good ones. And by taking it through the back door, you're actually bypassing all the processes that go on in the stomach. So you're really doing you're lubricating the colon, and you're also absorbing a lot more of that oil. And that oil is basically an insulator for the wiring system in your body, so you don't burn yourself out. So when you actually get this charge going in you after you've cleansed yourself, and then you start to increase the conductivity, you want oil in your diet. This is why when you look into the Indian diet, the idea of curry comes from the word currency, and it means energy. And so it's these hot foods that have a lot of energy, a lot of spark, a lot of life force, and they'll always put them with butters or rich fats, milks, because it acts as an insulator, a cooler. It will cool you down and keep you from getting too hot from that. So by insulating yourself with the oil, you're doing yourself quite a good service. And I found that there's a few times, because of my body type, you can look into the Bastis and you can look into the different body types, the Vadas, Kapha, and my body type is, I run very wiry. I'm skinnier. I'm an ectomorph, and my body uses energy different than somebody that's a mesomorph. So you have different types of body processes. More fat means more insulation, but it won't have as much of a long power. Like for me, I would have a short power, but a lot of it. But I can change that by adding certain elements to my body, and that's the alchemizing of your own temple by knowing what elements to ingest. And when I did a Basti, I found that I didn't even crap any out. I took all of the oil in, and barely any came out. So I was very low on oil. But then the next day I found that my joints were more lubricated. I felt more fluid. I felt a lot easier in movement. Bones didn't crack as much, like, little knuckle cracks and knees cracks here and there. And much less. So you can get into using those. That's a big part of the diet. And then once you get that in you, and you feel, your body's lubricated, then we can get into the next advanced practices of what it will, what things you should consume. Because most people are coming here trying to get off of meat, or get wondering why their vegan diet isn't working, or whatever. And the first philosophy, again, is let's look at the electrical system, then let's look at the water system, and then the system as a whole material system. So we clean the water, and then we add the charge, and then we insulate the body with the oils. So I think that's about everything I want to cover, guys. Again, any more questions, feel free to ask below. Cheers, y'all.